Hello, geeks. Welcome to Geek Watchers. My name is Ryan Fasige,
My name is William Bechtel.
And my name is Anthony Anya.
and welcome to the second episode of Geek Watchers. Today comes in with some interesting topics. First off, we're going to start off with the Moonknight trailer. We all know that came out 3 days ago. Everybody knows about the Marvel character Moonknight, very dark type character. And the topic we're going to talk about is the Sony losing $20 billion back in past revenue from the Microsoft purchase. And the third topic we're going to discuss today is the recasting of T'Challa. So, if you guys want to sit down, get your popcorn, let's start the sub. Well, let's start with the Moonknight trailer. Like I said before, we saw it 2 days ago, and for me, I thought it was really interesting how they were going to carry this character. I've always thought I didn't really think Moon Knight was really going to come into the MCU because of like how dark it is, like how really dark of a character like Moon Knight is. I mean, everybody says he's like the Batman of Marvel, but it's just like that man's way too dark. I mean, that man's mentally insane. That man's now I wouldn't say corrupt, but like just so many things just going around his head that just every single day it's just like, man, Bruce Wayne can't compete with that. So I mean, it's very interesting the way to see how Moon Knight's really going to be played in the MCU. I know it comes out on March 30th, so it's going to have some time after the Batman movie to really sell into the Moon Knight series. Hopefully they do him right. I know one of the trailers. I hopefully we get to see how his transformation from Mark into Moon Knight is, because we all know we saw it from the last trailer where he's beating up that guy, and then he turns around and it's just in his costume, you looking godly. So very interesting to see. What's your guys' opinions or thoughts?
So, right off the bat, my biggest compliment to not just like the show, but Moon Knight as a character is I love the way the costume looks because I don't know if like you noticed this or if this is just like something that I noticed. I'm getting really tired of just seeing the color red with Marvel characters. You know what I mean? Like Iron Man, Spider-Man, even Captain America has undertones of red, even the Winter Soldier does. Pretty much every single, or almost, I'm not gonna say every, but like a lot of these superheroes or superhero teams, they have either undertones or their costumes or character designs are heavily based on the color red. Like obviously Black Panther, Hulk, and I guess Thanos would be exceptions to those because they don't have any red on their costumes at all, at least that I remember. But I think the costume really gives the character that distinguished look that separates them from like Thor or Captain America or even excuse me or even Hulk and like Ultron. And I think I'm really hoping that this show, it's probably not since it's on Disney Plus, but I really hope that this show leans more towards the darker side, kind of like how the Daredevil, the Jessica Jones, and the Luke Cage series is on Netflix did. But like I said, since it is Disney, they probably want to keep it like as family friendly as possible. So I'm a little worried about that because Moon Knight, like you said, Ryan, he is compared to Batman a lot, but there are a few like key differences. Like Moon Knight just straight up murders people sometimes. Like he doesn't care. So and also the villain played by Ethan Hawke. I think it's Arthur Harrow, something like that. Apparently, I never heard of the character before, so I want to do some research before we started this. Apparently, he was only in one comic in the Moon Knight series, and he's a scientist who is nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for his how to deal with pain and stuff like that. But the Nobel Prize Committee sent an investigator to figure out how he like got all these, how he was able to like find all these scientific breakthroughs in dealing with pain and how to suppress that. It was actually based on the real life event, the Holocaust, specifically in Auschwitz and Birkenau. It's basically he has classified Nazi documents based on the real life experimentations on the Jewish people, the Gypsy people, the the disabled, pretty much every prisoner in concentration in those two camps specifically. So it's definitely a darker series for sure, because like I said, Moon Knight, straight up murderer, doesn't care. That's pretty cool. Not like the murdering aspect, but like it's going to be different, and I'm really hoping it's more towards the grittier, realistic side, and not like the sort of upbeat, goofier side that a lot of the other Marvel properties go towards.
And see, that's gonna be the hardest part for me. Like the way that they handle Moon Knight. I've read his comics for like 2 years straight. This man is not a goofy character at all. He is a dark character. So the way that Disney's gonna handle him, like to say like they're gonna put him in Disney Plus, it's gonna be very interesting to see the way they're handling it. Because like you said before, they want it to be family oriented, but it's just like that's not who he is. Like the same way they handled Daredevil, they put him in Netflix. Great, because they were able to get into the darker aspect of his character. For me, I thought last year if they were going to bring Moon Knight into a TV show, it was going to have to be in Netflix. So it's going to be very interesting to see how like his murderous, insane aspect, mentally insane, like how they're going to handle him as a character. It's going to be very interesting. And like I remember how like you talked about his costume. I remember there was a quote I was reading yesterday. It was a familiar quote. It said something particular. Moon Knight, he quoted, he'd say, I don't wear white to hide myself. I wear it because they'll see me coming. So you know who it is. Because when they see white, it doesn't matter how good of a target I am. Their hand shakes so bad they couldn't hit the moon, which I thought that was a cold quote. Because he's telling you, this is why I wear white. I'm not trying to hide from anybody. I'm not trying to be from the dark or jump. I want you to know that I'm coming for you. And even if you have a good target at me, I want you to shake for me. Like it's gonna be crazy. So very interesting to see how they handle this character. Anthony, you got any opinions on Moon Knight?
Honestly, bro, I didn't even know Moon Knight existed. Like, I'm not too familiar with like comics and stuff like that, but like just based off of the trailer, like I don't know, he seemed like a pretty badass character, and like it just watching how like he just went through like this whole this make mental like breakthrough and everything, and I don't know, like majority of the trailer, I just couldn't really keep up with what was going on, but like I guess that was more like the point of how like the character kind of goes through like everyday like activities because he's battling with himself mentally and then also trying to function as just like a regular like person in society. And like another thing I really liked about it was just like the location change because we see like oh with these other characters or like the other superheroes that we're used to, it's like I guess it was in like the UK or like London, I think,
I think it was in Egypt.
or in like Europe, somewhere else. And like,
Oh,
I don't know, I just thought that was really cool about like the transition that Marvel did. So yeah, that's really just my opinion on that so far. But yeah, it seems pretty cool.
yeah. I was gonna. One of the interesting things that I was talking with someone earlier today was how they were gonna bring him into, or how soon they were gonna bring him into the Marvel movies. Like, would he be like some type? Well, he is an anti-hero in the comics, but it's just like, are you gonna bring him in as an anti-hero, or are they gonna bring him in as a hero? Like, how is that? How is that gonna assemble inside the MCU? Because we already know that he's getting his own show, but when it comes to the big screens, how is he gonna maybe fit in with like maybe the rest of the Avengers or Captain America or the Falcon or something like that? Uh, what are your guys' theories or thoughts on how he might assimilate or how soon they might put him in?
So I don't really have anything to base this off of, but
Mhm.
from when I was researching more about Ethan Hawke's character, and by the way, just before I say my theory, if you really want to call it that,
Mhm.
I think the casting for this show is phenomenal. I love Oscar Isaac. I love Ethan Hawke. I know Ethan Hawke has a new movie coming out in June called The Black Phone. It's a horror movie. It looks incredible, so I'm really excited to see him do similar character um, to the one he plays in that upcoming movie. But so my theory is the character Ethan Hawke plays, Dr. Harrow. He would I can't remember what the group is called, but it had some like really long acronym, but apparently it was like never really defined in the actual comic book because, like I said, his character only shows up in one issue of a Moon Knight comic, And so I'm thinking, based on his backstory with the Holocaust ties, Nazi Germany, and stuff like that, I'm thinking that they might go towards another Hydra storyline. But I mean, other than that, that's really all I could see happening with that. Like maybe it goes into Hydra, and then it brings in like Bucky and Falcon, and that I don't know. I honestly just I think it's just going to be a wild ride, and whatever happens, I just hope they do this character justice and give them the spotlight they deserve.
I just know that from watching the Eternals, we all know that scene where we can hear Blade's voice coming in, and once we're hearing Blade's voice, I know that Blade's character is connected to Moon Knight. So I thought for me, once Blade is introduced into the MCU, then Moon Knight would also follow with because they're both I'd say like a parallel version. Like they've seen each other in the comics. They've also have an interesting time point to each other. They also have another interesting time point to Black Knight, which is from a later discussion to another character. So I think for me, if it was going to be, if he was going into the MCU, probably would come directly after Blaze introduced. But that's another discussion for later. But that's my theory. What about you, Anthony?
Honestly, I could really see them tying like his own plot in with not necessarily like the Avengers as much, but like just having his own like I don't know, like I had to really give this one more thought. But like as far as you guys like referring to him as like an anti-hero or like a not necessarily like a hero, more of an anti-hero, I don't know. I feel like it'd be set in a different time period, but yeah, like I really don't know about that one. Like I would just need more need more information.
Gotcha. Well, like I said before, everything's all up to speculation at the moment. We have to wait till March 30th and see what type of clues, what type of universe, how it's going to parallel into the MCU, how everything's going to play out. But I definitely believe, like from what we've seen from the trailer, 2 or 3 days ago, it's going to be a very good show to watch, and hopefully, it may be the best show in best Disney Plus show in 2022. So we can just speculate and wait, and can't wait to see it. So next,
Before we move on, I just want to point something out real quick. When you
no
mentioned Blade, that reminded me that Moon Knight's first appearance in Marvel Comics was the Werewolf by Night comic book, where he fought the werewolf by night. I don't remember the character's name. Honestly, I actually haven't read the comic book, but I do know that's the first comic book he's in, even though it's not really his comic, but he's played more like a villain in that. So he might play a similar role in that like storyline if he were to meet Blade. Like maybe they're just like in a way, maybe they might be two supernatural hunters, but they have very opposing views at first. But
gotcha.
It's kind of like a Winter Soldier Falcon sort of thing where like they have like the same goal, but the way they go about it might be a little different, or they might not agree with each other completely in a way.
Most definitely.
Or kind of like, I guess a better comparison would be Dr. Charles Xavier and Magneto in the X-Men movie, specifically First Class. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Gotcha. No, I definitely agree because I know that Blade and Black Knight have a direct connection towards the Eternals. And we know that with Black Knight, Moon Knight's going to be there also. So it's very interesting to see. Like that's why I say if once Blade is introduced into the MCU, then Moon Knight will follow because once Blade is in there, Black Knight's going to follow. And once Black Knight follows, Moon Knight's definitely going to follow. So like I said before, it's going to be very interesting to see like how he's going to connect through the MCU. We haven't seen Blade yet. We haven't seen Blade introduced yet. So we have to wait. So everything I say is based off of speculation. But that's how basically I see it, or how my theory is going to play out. So
I had a quick So this whole like Moonlight thing, is it being introduced as like a show series, or is it a movie?
It's gonna be introduced as a show series on Disney Plus March 30th.
Okay, so back on what I was saying earlier, if it's a show, I feel like his own kind of like storyline will be separate than from all the other like heroes and other people. But if it were like on like bigger screens as like a movie, then I feel like Marvel, like as a whole, will find a way to tie in that with like the other heroes' agenda. So I just want to throw that in there really quick.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a very interesting. Yeah, very interesting theory. But we can. It's very interesting to see how they're gonna utilize Moonlight in this series, and once by episode, we could say like, okay, hey, this is probably what's going to happen towards the future. Maybe the Eternals might be referenced in the show series. Maybe Black Knight. Well, Black Knight definitely is going to be referenced, but maybe we'd see how Black Knight plays a role in the Moon Knight series and how everything develops. So it's going to be a very interesting aspect of the show. And once again, it comes out on March 30th on Disney Plus. Not sure how many episodes they are, but I'm pretty sure that with every episode it will count, and we'll all enjoy it, man. Just all excited and can't wait. Well, to the next topic. Recently, Microsoft bought one of the popular studios, Activision, for a $67 billion deal, which $9 per share, if anybody is into the stock market. Uh, going alongside it, Sony lost $20 billion in their stock market share, and it's everybody's calling for, is it Sony panicking? Should they worry about it? Should they rest up? Should they let everything ride off? Everybody's more on the speculation side about what Sony should do. So, what's your guys' opinions about the current situation, how it might play out for future games?
Um, so here's the thing about here's how I see it.
Mhm.
Essentially what Microsoft is doing in a way, because they recently acquired Bethesda Studios, the people that make like all the Fallout games and all that stuff. That's really the only game series I can think about off the top of my head. But yeah, they acquired Bethesda, and now they have Activision Blizzard, and Activision obviously they do like the big Call of Duty games. They do Crash Bandicoot, they do Diablo, Warcraft. They do all these huge games, and a lot of these games that they make have really big online multiplayer. So like big online presences, you could say. So what I think might happen, so I think Activision is still going to be giving Sony a few games that they were developing for them, because they still have to meet those contractual agreements. Because Deathloop is actually a Bethesda game, but it only came out on PS5. But that's because they made a deal with Sony that it would be released on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. So I think Sony's definitely going to bounce back from it, and how long it's going to take, I can't really say, but it is probably going to affect their game catalog in the next upcoming years, unless they acquire like Capcom, or they do. I honestly I don't know, because Microsoft is just almost pulling a huge monopoly on the gaming industry in some sense, because they're a corporate giant that's eating other giants and implementing those companies into themselves. And as a result, it's kind of creating a snowball effect that makes your company bigger and more profitable. And therefore, they will have the financial needs to purchase other companies such as Capcom or pretty much anything else. Like the only companies they probably wouldn't be able to buy are Sony Games and Nintendo, because all three of those companies, the big three, they're worth billions and billions of dollars each. So Nintendo probably won't be as affected by this deal as like Sony did, because obviously Nintendo really they have more so like family friendly games, you could say, and they already kind of have like a decent relationship with Microsoft, not so much with Sony, because in the past Sony was working with them, Nintendo, to create a gaming system, but what Sony wanted to do didn't really match up with what Nintendo wanted to do. So like they left off on bad terms, and that's when Sony started releasing the PlayStation series of consoles. So pretty much to summarize what I just said into like a 2 sentence tidbit, I think Sony will come back from this, but to the extent of which we'll just have to wait and see in the next oncoming year.
And see, the thing is with and like I like how you said like Nintendo's not really affected. For me, I don't feel like Nintendo's really affected too much because they're not that company that's really like out here trying to compete. They're just trying to make good games, get it out, let the families enjoy it, give it out to the kids. They're not really like trying to compete against Microsoft and Sony and say like, hey, let me try to make as much money as I can. They're kind of like that family oriented type of company where, hey, let me give it to all to kids, let them enjoy the game. But for me, in my opinion, I feel like this Microsoft deal was the pushback that Sony needed. Like they needed a real wake up call. Because we all think about it, this past decade, everybody's been buying the PS4 games. I mean, whenever the PS4 came out, we all wanted it. We all played Call of Duty on the PS4. We all played games on the PS4. Ever since I was in middle school, my first console was the PS4. My brother plays on the PS4 every single day. So it's just like it Sony was like a little bit on the settling type of moment. Like they really felt like they didn't have to do anything. They didn't really have to expand. They didn't really have to buy new studios. They didn't have to buy inclusivity of certain games. Now, I'd say one of the biggest studios they needed to buy inclusivity was Activision because they relied on it way too much. Because Activision made all the popular games. They made Overwatch, they made Diablo, they made all the Call of Duty games. So Microsoft buying Activision, I can imagine that scares Sony because what if Microsoft just one day says, okay, all the Call of Duty games, they're honestly going to be released only for Microsoft. That will kill Sony because that's where they make most of their money from. Now, don't get me wrong. They make their money from movies like Spider-Verse, all the Spider-Man movies. They make their money from that, which is probably making them generate money from there. But their real avenue is video games. And everybody has a video game console. And what does everybody buy? A PS4 game. With those games, Overwatch, Call of Duty, all those type of games where World of Warcraft, everybody's played those games. So for Microsoft to one day just say, hey, we're only going to release it on Xbox, that could potentially hurt Sony badly. But like I said before, they can probably bounce back from it. What they probably need to do is purchase more studios inclusive towards them. They were really like selling on whatever they had, which I mean I could see why because they were generating revenue and everybody was buying the game, but also at the same time, stuff like this can happen to anybody. And they weren't just prepared for that, but I mean, hey, at the same time too, this was the wake up call that Sony needed. So they can say, okay, hey, next time we can buy this studio, we can make more games. We can make stuff that's more appealing to the public. But I mean, for right now, I can imagine that right now they're kind of like in a panic. I know they released a statement, and I haven't read the statement yet. Maybe they're not panicking, but like in the inside, if I was Sony, maybe I'd be like, oh wow, what's gonna happen at this moment after the few years? But like I said before, everything's might be like at a stalemate right now, for what I'm saying. But very interesting to see how they're gonna carry out for the next few years regarding the gaming, how that might affect the PS5 or maybe the PS6 if that's going to come out. But I definitely agree with your topic points. Well, how do you feel about that, Anthony?
Me personally, I feel like since Sony's so centered around like electronics and technology, they're not really at too much of a loss. Only because like as like society's moving towards like the technology base and everything, like the demand is always going to be there, like for more technology and just more things that people can buy. And honestly, going off on what you said about like their partnerships, of course, okay, yes. Uh, what was that company you just mentioned? Someone buying, like just like the, yeah, them buying Activision. I think that's how you say it.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, like a lot of companies have gone through like a phase where like, oh, okay, since this is going on, we need to adjust, and that's just where Sony is at currently. Another thing that I want to point out, um, honestly, since I don't know, I feel like they could always bounce back only because like they're like the main producer for like the PS5 consoles. You always see them producing television, like TVs. And I don't know, I guess it's just their time where they just got to face adversity and like kind of bounce back.
Hopefully from this, hopefully from this this scenario, they can hopefully expand their FPS and shooter IPSs. I'd say that's like the number one solution that they need to do. Once they do that, I feel like they'd be back on track. Everything will be settled. I won't say that Microsoft would be too sneaky or like too cutthroat, but like I mean, we look back in the past, like how Microsoft was pushed on from Dreamcast. I don't know if you guys remember that studio, and we all know that Dreamcast and Sony aren't really on really good terms. I don't know if Dreamcast is still a studio at this moment, but
Are you talking about Sega?
Sega, yes, my bad.
Yeah.
Sega. We all know that Sega and Sony weren't too much of a they weren't really too much of a line with each other. They kind of left off on bad terms. And Sega, I don't think they're that much of a studio anymore. And so maybe this could be a clap back. Maybe Microsoft is avenging Sega for what happened in the past. I don't think they're that petty, but hey, you might not know. It was a very interesting conversation I was having with someone 2 days ago because they played a lot of Sega games. They talked about how Sega and Microsoft were like in really good terms with each other, and then after that Sony deal like end up flaming up from them, and their Sega studio just like going downhill from there. Microsoft might have just like avenged them, or maybe I don't know. It's kind of too complicated, but I wouldn't I wouldn't look past maybe that theory. But hey,
You know what? Going off of what you just said, so you might be right in a way because Sega, like you said, they don't have the best relationship with Sony, but they're still like making tons of money with the Yakuza franchise, obviously all the Sonic games and Sonic movies that keep getting pumped out. Those are honestly like the two only franchises that Sega has that I can name off the top of my head. I know they have some other games, but I'm not a Sega person. I do like the Yakuza games, I do like Sonic, but it could be getting to a point to where Microsoft is going to start purchasing Sega, but then you start to think about like these time exclusives, because it does make sense for Microsoft to purchase Sega because Sega's last Yakuza game, Yakuza Like a Dragon, it was a time exclusive for the Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. So what I'm thinking is that maybe Sony might do a similar move because the Final Fantasy VII remake was supposed to be a time exclusive, I believe. So Sony might just pull the same move Microsoft did and just completely buy out Square Enix and essentially choke out the market for those people that really want those Final Fantasy games on the Nintendo Switch or the Xbox or Windows or whatever. So in a sense, I could see this going one of many ways, but I think I'm leaning more towards what I just said, where all these companies are just trying to choke each other out and just dry up their market, because a lot of people they don't play video games as much as like me or somebody else do, because I don't know if you could see on my shelf, I have like 20 Switch games and 10 Xbox One games on my shelf right now. So I like to play games, but some people, they probably only like to play like the competitive shooters like Call of Duty or Overwatch, and they used to only play on the PlayStation consoles, but now they're gonna have to transition over to the Xbox consoles or maybe future Nintendo consoles if Nintendo ever releases the Call of Duty games, or Overwatch 2 if that's being that's in development right now. I don't know if it's going to be coming out on PlayStation. It might. I don't know how far along the development cycle it's in, but I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody wins in this situation, especially not the customer.
oh,
Because think about it, like I would be pretty pissed off. I got a Nintendo Switch mainly to play the Zelda games, but if Microsoft or Sony, let's just say Sony because I don't have a PlayStation, Sony said, okay, well, we're going to buy the rights to The Legend of Zelda. So Nintendo can't release any emulation of like their old Zelda games or release any new ones on their consoles. If you want to play Zelda, from here on out, you have to get it on the PlayStation. I would be so pissed off because that's like a $500, $400 console, depending on which one you get. And I would only use it to play like 2 games at most on it. But like it's the same situation for people that only play like Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's just something that it's just, hopefully it won't get to the extent that I'm saying it is. Hopefully it's just gonna kind of like stay a little tense, but hopefully not too many studios are going to be bought out from here on out. But knowing how, like man's greed, it's probably going to happen regardless.
And these CEOs, I mean, Microsoft, Sony, well, yeah, I'd say mainly Microsoft and Sony, they tend to be petty in the past. So, I mean, like you said before, hopefully it doesn't get up to that extent. But if it does, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Because like you said before, everybody's trying to dry up each other. Everybody wants to be on top of each other. Now, Sony, the thing is with Sony, I don't see a reason why they want to try to be on top of Microsoft. Maybe because like anything they do, they can still make money. And then Microsoft has these other avenues. They got these tech companies. They got Bill Gates, all that type of stuff. They can also, they're still going to generate money anywhere else. If they didn't have video games, they'd still generate money. So we're just like, the console wars, like we're experiencing right now, is kind of petty because it's just like they're all making money. Like nothing's really gonna, like, for them, everything's gonna come into a standstill. While us customers, we're gonna suffer because we don't know what the future of video games is gonna be like. I don't want to buy a $600 console for 3 games. That's a waste of my time. That's a huge waste of my time. So hopefully they can just get in an agreement, just say, hey, we're gonna give you guys these rights, these exclusivity towards these games. We can still make money at the end of the day, and let's just be happy. Okay? Be happy. Shake hands, leave it off. So that's my final take. Anthony, did you have any other opinions about it?
Most of what I was gonna say, y'all already kind of put it out there. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Didn't mean to take up your argument or anything else you were gonna say, but man, it's gonna be real interesting to see how the future of console is gonna be, and I hope it doesn't affect me too much because let me tell you this: I don't have the PS5. I don't know when I'm gonna get the PS5. I got a PS4 at home, and I think I'm pretty content with that. I think once everybody else moves towards the PS5 or towards a different console, then maybe I'll buy it. I was an Xbox user when I was growing up. The Xbox 360 was in, and then I got a PS3. And then once the PS4 came out, I got the PS4 because all my friends got it. Don't get me wrong. I was thinking about buying the Xbox One because of Madden, all those type of other games. But I mean, at the end of the day, I stuck with a PS4. But I mean, hey, just saying what the future holds for Microsoft and Sony is just very interesting. This is definitely changes gaming forever. I will say so myself.
I think this is going to be my last take on this whole subject. I think the biggest winner in this situation, other than Microsoft, obviously, because they just choked out probably like 20% of Sony's market right there. It's probably Nintendo, because Nintendo and Microsoft, they work closely together, and they on these games that release on like all 3 of the platforms or other major platforms. Those 2 companies work the closest together to ensure that there is cross-platform compatibility. So like, I believe it's Minecraft, for example. I think it's Minecraft. I could be wrong, but Nintendo Switch users can also play with people on Windows or Xbox, I believe. And I know Fortnite, they did a similar move to that a couple years ago in the height of its popularity. So like Android and iOS users could also play with people on PC or Switch. How that would really be fair to those people playing on smartphones, I don't know. But I mean, I guess it's cool, but like I think Nintendo, since they have a pretty decent relationship with Microsoft, they could be at ease knowing that if they do choke out a market, they'll probably work out a deal with Nintendo to receive the rights to put out some of those games. Like if they bought Capcom, Microsoft bought Capcom, they might work out a deal with Nintendo saying that, you can get like Revelations 3 whenever that comes out, but we're going to keep like the mainline Resident Evil games on the Xbox consoles. But yeah, that's pretty much my final take on the whole situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, pretty much it. Micro, a message to Microsoft and Sony: hug it out and just keep us as customers happy. Don't do anything stupid, please. Don't. Okay. All right. Next, last topic. So we are familiar with the actor Chadwick Boseman. He's someone with background history. He attended Howard University, graduated from there, Howard University at the year 2000. He was an American actor. Studying there, he studied acting. He's known as a writer, director, and actor for stage. He was a winning award actor for the Drama League Directing Fellowship and an actor towards the Delco. But he sadly died in August 28, 2020 in Los Angeles, California, due to colon cancer. Now, why did we bring him up? Chadwick Boseman starred in one of the famous movies, Maya Rand's Black Bows, 21 Bridges, and one of the famous players, Jackie Robinson, 42. But one of the most important films he casted in was Black Panther, which came out in 2018, came out high reckoning numbers. Everybody from around the world enjoyed the movie. People at one time were saying this is one of the best MCU movies of all time. But with all good things, it comes to an end. He sadly died last year. Rest in peace to him, to his family. Condolences go out. But he sadly died. Everybody's now questioning if T'Challa should be recasted. Now, a few months ago, Disney, the no, the Marvel's co no, the Marvel co-CEO, I forgot his name, but he came out and said that Mark Chadwick Boseman was not going to be recasted. Black Panther was not going to be recasted like at all. So it was just they said they couldn't make it happen. So now it stirred up some uproar towards the public because everybody wants Black Panther to be recasted. Now, for me, in my opinion, I've been saying this since Chadwick Boseman died. Even though I respect his career, I've always thought of him to be a great actor. But for the character Black Panther, I thought it was he had too much of a character, too much story, too much comic storyline to tell that should be given out to the public, should be shown in movies. What he stands for, the symbols, how he's played out in the comics, how he plays in the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, different universes, like who he becomes, his ultimate peak. Like you can't just destroy that character down from one actor, you know? It means a lot to other people who represent him that hey, we have to see this type of character. So for me, I feel like T'Challa needs to be recasted. I feel like Black Panther as a whole is of too much significance towards the MCU, especially towards Phase 4. Um, I definitely feel like I want to see characters play out like Black Panther versus Namor, or the Doom Wars in the comic where Black Panther goes against Doom, and how he leads the Fantastic Four, which is going to be introduced towards the MCU. And we know that one time later, Reed asks T'Challa to lead the Fantastic Four. So I want to see that interesting to play out, and how he becomes the King of the Dead. Like those type of storylines, everybody wants to see that. Every comic book reader wants to see that. So for it to be destroyed down in call just because of one actor, I just don't feel like it serves him right. Even his brother says that he would want the character to be recasted. So I mean, if his brother's coming out saying that, hey, you guys need to recast T'Challa, I feel like it should be a clear message to Disney and Marvel, like, hey, this character needs to be recasted. So yeah, that's my rant for it. So what are your guys' opinions about it?
If I could start, honestly, Ryan, I agree with half of what you said. Like, okay, like Chadwick Boseman had like a huge impact on like the whole Black Panther series and everything, and like the first movie, because it was just so popular like around the world. Like I think it was 2018 that it came out, or 2019.
2018.
Yeah, 2018. Me, like my honest opinion, I honestly did not think someone else should. I feel like he shouldn't be recasted only because like I think it's just a respect thing. Like I don't know. I don't really see any other actor like fulfilling that role like to the highest. And I feel like for the audience, so we just even though we've accepted that like he's moved on, we just can't get past the okay, like Chadwick Boseman used to play that role. And it's like, I don't know. And then I've seen a couple things on the internet, like, oh yeah, maybe his sister, I forgot her name.
Sure.
Yeah, Zuri or Shuri, I think it's Zuri or something like that. They've been saying, oh yeah, like maybe she should um take on like his role that he did in the movie. And I feel like that wouldn't even be a bad idea. I feel like they should go that route instead of throwing in like a whole different actor to play back Black Panther.
Yeah. I was thinking that Shuri could take up the role of Black Panther because I think she even does in the comics at some point for a brief amount of time. But I agree with Anthony on this one. I don't really want to see Chadwick Boseman recasted all too much. I liked, so I'm going to be honest, the Black Panther movie, I thought it was okay, but I liked his character more in Civil War when he was first introduced. I think, like obviously, I think Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan stole the show on the Black Panther movie. But other characters that could potentially replace him, I guess Shuri would be number one. Apparently, Chadwick Boseman's brother offered to do it. From what I heard, I don't know if it's true or not. I just heard it's from one of my friends, literally last night when we were hanging out. But apparently, his brother is willing to do it, and they're just going to let him or let the studio CGI Chadwick Boseman's face over him, which I don't know how that would work out, but it's something that I would have to see in action before I make like a definitive opinion about. But I don't know. Chadwick Boseman made this such an iconic character for a whole variety of reasons. And like other MCU characters, I can't see anybody else being Prince T'Challa or Black Panther as a whole, at least at this time. Maybe like if Chadwick Boseman's family is fine with the recasting and they give Disney the go ahead, like their blessings, I think it's fine at that point. But right now, I feel like the wound is still a little too fresh to really recast a character as popular as T'Challa or the Black Panther.
Gotcha. Yeah, the thing is for me is that I'm a big comic book reader. So I know that as a comic book reader fans, we all want to see T'Challa being recasted. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts, like we want him to be recasted. And it's very interesting too, because I know that 2 weeks ago, his brother said wanted him to be recasted. And he even said that he would if Chadwick Boseman, I mean no, he said that when Chadwick Boseman died, he wanted the Black Panther to be recasted because of what he stood for towards, I would say, the African American community. So for him to just be taken down like that and be removed, it's removing so much storyline to where a lot of kids can look up to. Like really see, like, as a comic book reader, I want to see the Namor versus Black Panther role. I feel like if you're going to introduce Namor, you have to have a Black Panther because that's one of the most important. Their rivalry goes back a long time ago. So to see them go back and forth, I mean, you could say Letitia Wright as she takes on Azuri, as Black Panther. That's also seen as a comic. So Will, you are correct. Zuri does take on as Black Panther. It's actually during the Namor versus Black Panther wars when Black Panther everybody thought Black Panther was unconscious or died. He was fueling back up. Letitia Wright takes up not Letitia Wright. Zuri takes up the mantle as Black Panther and often declares war on Atlantis, and they end up destroying Atlantis. So it's a very good storyline to get into. But that's not the most important part of what I want to talk about. But I would say is for me, if they don't recast T'Challa, that'd be a very like disingenuous. Like I felt like whenever they announced that they didn't recast T'Challa, I felt like it was out of emotion. It was disingenuous. So I thought that for me, what he stood for is very important. And for him to die off, I mean, for me, I'd say that if Letitia Wright isn't casted as the new Black Panther, then maybe John David Washington can maybe cast, or maybe Amari Hadward can look, or Aldous Hodge, or Winston Duke, or maybe Michael B. Jordan, because they said he's coming back into Black Panther too. So maybe he can learn from his mistakes of Black Panther and be, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a villain anymore. I should take up the role as Black Panther. Maybe that can go up. But the Black Panther character as a whole, I felt like Chadwick Boseman wouldn't want to see him die off either because of what he stood for, his symbol. You can't get rid of a symbol like that, you know? I mean, other kids look up to Iron Man, Captain America, Superman, Batman. Um, I wouldn't say Moon Knight, but I'm trying to think. The Hulk, Wolverine, those are iconic characters. And for Black Panther, in my opinion, he's a top 5 street tier character. And for you to just kill him off and bring him off the screen, like it's just like, man, you're doing a disservice towards people who look up to him. His storyline is important. His impact is important. You can't just kill him off because of one actor. If I was Chadwick Boseman, I wouldn't want to see him killed off either. So it's just like I can understand the viewpoint like Will and like Anthony you see, but as a comic book reader, how he plays around the MCU, everybody could look up to. I mean, at one point, after Iron Man's no longer in the scene around the Avengers turned to Black Panther for tech and gadgets. So as a person from the African American community, they can look towards Black Panther as a person more like an Iron Man type because he can make tech gadgets. As a person who's a skilled fighter, just like Batman, because he can fight all the time. He mastered every single martial arts. Like Black Panther as a character, you can't just kill him off. Now, I'm guessing if it's like a more like an anti-hero or a side character, you can kill him off. But Black Panther isn't a side character.
Right.
He's Everybody considers him to be like the Batman of Marvel. And I can see that because he has technology, he's rich, he has power, he's at his peak. Every time he's in a group, he leads. He was on the Fantastic Four, he led. He was on the Avengers, he led. So everything he does kind of like, I wouldn't say like resembles from Batman, but like the character as a whole, they're very two similar characters. But one character is very important to a certain community. And for you to kill him off from that community, it's like it's doing a big like disservice, you know?
Ryan,
So
can I say one thing?
Yes,
I understand like the whole like comic perspective,
yes.
but wouldn't you prefer that like they like twist the story to where okay, like Killmonger, he like changes whole like agenda, like oh okay, like maybe I should continue like this whole Panther legacy, and like he takes on that like oh yeah, I'm Black Panther now, and I need to continue it, and then that's whenever they can start making comics. I feel like people would prefer that more than him being recasted. Like you get where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah, no, I understand. See, I'm fine with that. I'm saying is there needs to be a Black Panther. There needs to
Yeah,
be a Black Panther, whether it's Michael B. Jordan, where it's Letitia Wright, where it's John David Washington. For them to say like they're not going to recast T'Challa, it's just like okay, so what are you going to do with T'Challa? Is he going to be in the MCU? Is he going to be in there for 10 minutes and then killed off? Like, because if he's killed off in 10 minutes towards the in the Black Panther 2 movie, that means we have no we have no T'Challa. We have no Black Panther character. And everybody knows who T'Challa is.
Mhm.
So for you to kill off that character T'Challa, you're killing off Black Panther. And that's important because that's who everybody resembles in Black Panther. I remember how he was introduced towards the Civil War movie. And like Will, like you said before, you liked him better in Civil War. I definitely agree. I liked him better in Civil War than his own movie. I mean, the suit was better, the storyline was better. I thought the way he was portrayed was like phenomenal. So like I definitely agree with you there. But like what I'm saying is for you to kill off T'Challa, it's just like I don't know, maybe because I'm a comic book fan, I'm maybe towards a little bit biased, but I would say from other comic book fans, they don't want to see T'Challa being killed off. They want to see it being continued. Now, if Letitia Wright comes in, plays Shuri as a Black Panther, that's fine too, because that has some comic book significance also. But from like I said before, I'm kind of being biased because I'm a comic book reader. All I'm just saying is there better be a Black Panther in this movie. Better be one.
Yeah, when you we started talking about like as a comic book reader, like putting in that perspective, I can agree with you more now. Like, and I wasn't saying like take out Black Panther completely, but I just don't think recasting T'Challa
Mhm.
would be a good move, considering the unfortunate passing of Chadwick Boseman.
Gotcha.
Um, but if I did get to choose who would be the new Black Panther, obviously I would say Shuri would be my number one pick. I guess my second and third choices would be Michael B. Jordan, because obviously, he was Killmonger. He was technically a different variation of the Black Panther, or Winston Duke, because his character M'Baku challenged him. Kind of like his character had like a full circle. Like he started off as kind of like an enemy, and he challenged T'Challa for the throne for Wakanda to become the Black Panther. But by the time Infinity War, when they're doing the big standoff with Thanos' army at Wakanda, shows that M'Baku is a very close ally to T'Challa and the Kingdom of Wakanda at that point. So I could see Winston Duke picking up the mantle of Black Panther. But it would make more sense if Shuri or Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger, were to take up that mantle due to the blood connections and personal connections they have, because I feel like those would run deeper than his relationship with Baku.
Yeah. I will say though, Will, Winston, I think last week, Winston Dukes received a heavy pay. His pay increased towards Black Panther 2. So we all know from that heavy increased pay, he's going to receive a bigger role. So maybe my theory is in Black Panther 2, he's going to take up the role as Black Panther. I'm completely fine with that if he takes it. Maybe Shuri takes up the role. I'm not really too sure about Shuri because of the whole Letitia Wright situation that was happening, because she didn't want to take the vaccination. So it's kind of like that. I feel like that kind of hurt her, because it's just like the studios, it kind of might have showed the studios like, hey, can we really trust you to take up the role like that? Because Marvel Studios required all their actors to get the vaccination. And of course, over the past, she's expressed some anti-vaccination remarks towards the vaccination. So it's just like, could they really trust her? This is one of the reasons why I kind of her out to be Black Panther. Now, if she was Black Panther, that'd be nice. But like if I was the studios, I'd kind of be like a little bit worried about like how she kind of acts outside the public. So I wouldn't be too sure if she's Black Panther. But my biggest theory for Black Panther 2 is Winston Duke takes up the Black Panther role. I think back actually in back in the MCU, he was I can't remember which movie, but while T'Challa was gone, yeah, while T'Challa was gone, I think back in Civil War, he took up the mantle as Black Panther, watched over it. So him in that leadership role, he's used to that. So for him to take up Black Panther, it wouldn't be too surprising for me to see that. But we just gotta see how it goes, pretty much. Anthony, did you have any opinions or thoughts?
Honestly, my final thought on this, feel like Black Panther or like just Marvel will have a lot more success killing off T'Challa, only because I feel like T'Challa and Black Panther are two separate things. Like they're two, like, okay, Black Panther is just this person who protects Wakanda, and then T'Challa is the king of Wakanda. So like anybody could take on that Black Panther role and then continue to do good for like the whole of Wakanda, like for whatever, joining the Avengers and whatnot. I feel like they'd have more success doing that, putting Shuri in there or Michael B. Jordan. I don't really feel like Winston Duke, is that his name? I don't really feel like it'd be relevant for him to step up to that. I don't even like. I just don't see why like he'd be there. It just wouldn't look right to me. But yeah, like back on what Will was saying about like the connection that Michael B. Jordan or Killmonger and Shuri have with T'Challa, I feel like they just have more success doing that in the end. And yeah, I feel like recasting just isn't a good idea. And I feel like the Marvel audience would just, at least be more excited for just a new face of Black Panther.
I just, for me specifically, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, it's going to be very interesting to see how, because people like to tie the movies towards comic book accuracy. And Phase 4 is all about like T'Challa, leading the Fantastic Four, and T'Challa doing this, T'Challa doing that, T'Challa. That's what Phase 4 is about. That's what the comic books are all about. So the only person I see like taking up the role of like T'Challa and preserving his significance, because like you said before, T'Challa and Black Panther are different, but T'Challa plays a big role in the Avengers, in the MCU specifically. Like whenever people think about the Black Panther, they're gonna think about T'Challa. So the only person who I really could see bringing up the significance of that T'Challa role is Shuri. And if they don't do that, it's just like if you bring in Michael B. Jordan, it's kind of look weird because he's Killmonger. What Killmonger does in the MCU, like if let's say he joins the Avengers, that's not what you see in the comic books. If um if Killmonger goes and joins the Fantastic Four, or he goes fights in the Doom War, that's not what you see in the comics. And we also gotta speculate too. Doom is being introduced. They're saying that Doom is going to be introduced in Black Panther 2. And Doom and Black Panther go to war with each other. We see in the Doom Wars comics. And specifically, T'Challa is referencing T'Challa, basically. He's not referencing the Black Panther. So to see Michael B. Jordan take up that role as Black Panther, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. It's going to look weird to me because I'm a comic book fan. I read all the comic books. So to see, it's going to be weird. Now, if you don't read the comic books, it might not affect you too much. But for me, whenever I look at Michael B. Jordan, he's Killmonger. I see him as this dangerous hero who wants to battling, rivalry, beef, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Now, here's another thing that they also could do. Since they're doing multi-universes, they can also bring another T'Challa from the universe. Bring him in there. Let's say that this current T'Challa dies, but then maybe they can get Doctor Strange to bring in a different T'Challa from a different universe, and they can continue on that storyline. So it's very interesting to see, like, if they were to use Michael B. Jordan as Black Panther, how that would play out. But like I said before, I'm a comic book fan, so it's I'm kind of biased on this. So yeah, pretty much that's all I gotta say. Will, did you have anything else to say?
About the recasting thing, I think they might try to do something where there is no Black Panther throughout the movie until like the final act, where they finally decide, okay, you're the ruler of Wakanda. Here's the flower. I forgot what it's called, but the flower that gives you like all the strength and agility of the Black Panther. There you go. You're a new Black Panther. Congratulations. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I don't really know who. Like, it would make more sense for Shuri to be Black Panther, like you said before, but based on her anti-vaccine stance, it might be a little tricky because that is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, which I don't really want to talk about. But this is kind of going off topic a little bit. It's on topic with Black Panther, but not with like the current situation. Mm-hmm. It could possibly happen. I mean, we did see a little bit of the character in the new Spider-Man movie. He does fight Black Panther in the comics a bit, I know, and even teams up with him in some cases, but they could introduce Kraven the Hunter. I think that would be interesting. And there is a Kraven the Hunter movie coming out in 2023. And he's being played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think his name, the guy that was in Kick-Ass. So I don't know. I think they might. I think the only thing the logical thing to do would make Shuri the Black Panther, but if the studio doesn't want to do it due to her current stance on certain social issues, they might want to kind of probably give it to like Killmonger or M'Baku or even John David Washington. But I don't even think John David Washington was in Endgame or Infinity War fighting with everybody. So yeah, based on what I know now, with Shuri's actress. I don't know her name, but with her certain comments about the vaccines, it's probably going to go towards Winston Duke, I feel like.
Yeah, it's gonna be. All I gotta say is that we gotta put our trust in Ryan Coogler. Great film director, but I know the amount of pressure that he's going through. I can't imagine what he's going through right now. I mean, actor died, sequels coming, fans wanting to recast Chop, fans not wanting to it. It's going to be very interesting to see how he's going to handle all this. But like I said before, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, that's going to come out in November 11th, 2022. Um, hopefully it'd be a really good movie. I fingers crossed. Hopefully it's going to be a good movie. But I mean, hey, if it's mid or low expectations, but I mean, what happens happens, and we just hope for the best. But pretty much it. But yeah, that would conclude our podcast for Geek Watchers. Geeks, hopefully that you hopefully learned something. You hopefully like this podcast. Like I said before, my name is Ryan Fasige. Will, Anthony. Anthony's a special guest. I would like to say that Dewan, he was not able to be here today because he was experiencing the flu, really sick. We send our regards out towards him, and hopefully by the time next week, but we record another time, we are able to bring him in, and then hopefully it's the four of us, and then sooner as the weeks going by, week by week, Gabriel can hopefully join in also. But that would mark our second episode of Geek Watchers. Thank you guys for tuning in, and like I said before, comment, like, and subscribe, and share it with your friends.